Hello, everybody. My name is Diana. This is my good friend Rose. We are here today to interview Rose on her transition process. Specifically, the topic today will be about her surgery in the throat, but also to have her explain a little bit about her background. So let's start.
Um,
Hi, Rose.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello, everybody.
Okay, so let's see. Let's start with how did you know you wanted to transition? When did you know?
When did I know? Um, I don't know if it was the thought of transitioning. I knew I was always a girl.
Yeah.
Um, as a little girl,
Mm-hmm.
I've never called myself a boy, so.
Of course,
Um,
understandable.
when I was small, I remember even in grade school, I'd always play with the girls, not the guys. I hated the guys stuff. Sorry. Um, I went to a Catholic school, and I used to get in trouble a lot. Um, in the Catholic school, when I was small, they actually had a white line down the middle of the playground, and one half was the boys' side, and the other half was the girls' side. And I was always on the girls' side. I kept getting caught there. I think the one really memorable thing about back then was I got caught the one time, and the teacher looked down at me and says, "You know what? If you do this again, I'm going to put you in a dress." And said, "Oh, sure, thank you." And she thought I was being sarcastic, so she sent me to the principal's office.
So, and where was this? In Canada?
Yeah, he's actually here in Toronto.
Oh wow, no way.
Yeah. Well, we're talking back a few years. I'm not exactly a spring chicken, so.
No.
But yeah, my mother found out about it. Got into a lot of trouble with her. She sent me to the doctor, and they tried to cure me of it.
Oh no, that's horrible.
Yeah, they did all sorts of crazy things back then. And then she sent me to a priest to have an exorcism.
No, oh no, that's a nightmare.
So yeah, I was just a little kid back then. So the other thing it really taught me was not to change, but to learn how to hide it better.
Of course.
But I still had to be me, so there's times, like back then I had a newspaper route, and my sister had a newspaper route. We exchanged back and forth. So in the wintertime it was perfect because I had this place in one of the apartment buildings I delivered. I stored clothes, and I'd get dressed up, and I'd go do my newspaper route. In the wintertime, it was dark. Dressed up as a girl, and nobody thought anything of it because I just thought it was my sister doing the route that night. So it was great, even back then. So it's never really changed. I've always known that's who I wanted to be, or that's who I am. Not who I wanted to be, but that's who I am.
Exactly.
It's just the way society is we had to hide it or be persecuted for it.
Yeah, that's how they made you feel.
Yeah.
I understand that for sure.
And then later on life, and that continued all through high school, college. I met a very beautiful lady. Got married when I was in my 20s. Excuse me. We were married for over 10 years, and she knew about it. One of her hobbies was she was a seamstress. She was really good at making stuff. A lot of people hired her to make wedding dress. So she would make me dresses.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was great.
That sounds so exciting.
And she taught me how to do some sewing, and we'd make dresses together and stuff like that. And I started down the road back then, though. This is back in the late 80s, the transition. And back then you had to go through the clerk. and you had to go through the process that they wanted you to.
Mhm.
Back then, excuse me, um, you weren't allowed to transition if you were married, or you weren't. They wouldn't support it anyway.
Mhm.
So I had to get a divorce. Um, they also,
And tell us why you weren't allowed to transition while you were married.
because I would be basically changing from a man to a girl in their
Mhm.
eyes. Um, in that time, same-sex marriage wasn't legal, so we weren't allowed to stay married at that point.
Right. That's isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like
Now there are
you're.
some people who work their way around it.
Mhm.
We do have other people that we know that stayed married through it all. But my wife was understanding, so we got a divorce. I started down the road. They weren't very supportive even then because I was considered heterosexual as a male,
Mhm.
and they didn't want to support somebody transitioning if they're going to become a lesbian.
Wow.
So, but I still kept going down the road. I had to get my hormones back then illegally through the
Really?
black market.
Really? Were you able to get a consistent supply or?
It was difficult. It wasn't always possible, but I was getting it, and had to pay for it, but still getting it.
Did you how did you manage the dose? How did you know what was the proper dosage for you? Or did you just wing it?
I sort of winged it. There wasn't much, like the internet wasn't really there back then, so you had to sort of wing it, and it wasn't a great experience. Um, but then I had to stop. Um, we had a daughter together, my wife and I, and it was great. But then we found out my wife was dying. She had terminally ill cancer. They gave her about a year to live. So um, we looked into the possibility of me being a sole parent or a single parent.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter was 5 at the time, actually 4 when we found out. Um, and we had a lawyer look into it for us. And the lawyer talked to Children's Aid, and basically they said that if I continued to transition, or if they found out I was transitioning, they would take my daughter away.
Because you would then have separated, and so your daughter
No,
would have.
as they would not mind me staying with my wife, even though we were divorced and we had the daughter, because my wife at the time would be the primary caregiver.
Right.
But if I became the primary caregiver as a transitioning or transsexual, um, they would not allow it.
What was the reasoning behind that? Is it just because of the transition itself?
Yeah, basically.
But
Yeah.
you are the parent of the child.
Back then,
How could they possibly have any say in that?
they're Children's Aid, and they make up the rules the way they see fit. And because the court respects their judgments, you have to be careful about how you operate. Now, I was living up north, out of Toronto, in a more conservative area that may have had a major influence on their decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But my daughter was very important to me at the time, so I put myself back in the closet and packed it away for quite a few years till my daughter was a lot older.
Mm-hmm. 17, right?
Well, I was thinking about, I thought 17, she's probably going to be done high school the following year.
Mm-hmm.
I can start transitioning again. But then we found out my daughter had cancer.
Oh my goodness.
So the priority sort of shifted. Take care of my daughter. I'm still looking at transitioning. Um, and her cancer really didn't stop me, but my focus was somewhere else.
Of course.
and took care of her first, which was important.
Understandable.
So her attention, my attention for her was more important. So took care of that business, and I sort of gave way to the idea of okay, it's getting later on in life. I'm not right now. I'm in my 50s, so my daughter's now 26, but I was looking, okay, I'm living 50-50 now. My private life, I was living as Rose, and my business life or work life, I was living my old self.
Of course.
Putting on the mask every day.
Yeah. The you that society accepts.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Yeah. The mask that society wants to put you on, put on your face.
The box that they try to fit you in.
Yeah. And then, I'm trying to think how many years ago it's been. It's been about 5 years ago. I found out that I possibly had cancer too.
One after another? Oh my god.
Well, when we knew that I had a predisposition to get cancer anyway, but so we looked into that. It turned out it was benign. And when I found that out, at the same time, my sister, one of my sisters, who happens to be a lesbian, living with the same.
The one that was on the bike route with you? When you were younger, you did the bike.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and anyway, she was dying of cancer.
Oh no.
So, and she passed away. But one of the clear pictures she left with me was she died very happy, being truthful to who she was, being with her own partner, her same-sex partner, and she was truthful to that, and it made her happy, and she died happy. And I looked at that and I said, God, what am I doing? Being miserable, trying to please everybody. It's time. I'm not stopping for anybody anymore.
I can 100% relate to that, and I'm sure so many people can as well.
Yeah.
Because I know that thought that you just had, which is I want to die being myself and not die being somebody else's picture of me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't want to spend your life pleasing people that don't care about you over your own happiness.
Yeah. Exactly.
Carry on, son.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So I started transitioning. I was out fully in my personal life. I came out to work a little over a year ago, actually about a year and a half ago. I started with HR. HR was like, wow, great, fantastic. We're here to support you. It's like, oh, fantastic. Okay.
Yay! Thank goodness.
Yeah, so I drafted this letter, right? Because I didn't know how to explain to people exactly, especially at work. So
nobody can explain this.
Right. So I found this letter on online from another transgender person. He said, "Here, share this. If you want to manipulate it to your own use, go ahead." And so I did. I manipulated it, made it me, and I first shared it with my boss. It was kind of funny because I had it folded up and I said, yeah. I said, I got some changes to make. And I had this letter in my hand. I handed it to him. And he gave me this funny look, whatever. And he starts reading through the letter. He says, oh, God, thank you. He says, you're not quitting.
That's how important you are.
So it was good. And then he says, okay, when are you going to come out to the rest of the company? And I says, well, I'm sort of working through some stuff. I says, as time goes, we'll see how that works. The company I work for is global. So the local office here, I came out to them first.
Yes.
And they're all okay, whatever.
Good.
Yeah, so it was really good. And then we had a trade show here that we were attending, and one of the guys from Vancouver was here,
Mhm.
and I figured, okay, let's test the water here and see how it goes, right? And I kind of figured, okay, I didn't know what to think because this guy's like Mr. Sports, everything, Mr. Macho and all this other stuff. And I'm thinking, okay, this has got to be the worst case scenario to try this out on.
Yes.
So I did the same approach I did with the boss. I had this letter and
Mhm.
he said, there's going to be some changes in Mississauga. And I had this letter. I handed it to him. He looked at me. He gave me all the same death stare as my boss did.
Mhm.
He read through it. He says, "Oh, you're not quitting. Congratulations, by the way, but you're not quitting. That's the important thing." So,
That's so wonderful.
so the company's been very good.
Excellent.
So, and I've been out totally since then. So, and to be honest, it's been the happiest time of my. I can't think of a time that I've been happier.
Of course, I can understand that because you're finally at one with yourself.
Yeah.
It kind of finally fit into who you are as opposed to being somebody else.
Well, you're not trying to be somebody else.
Yeah. That pressure of always hiding it's so it weighs on you. It weighs on your chest and
you're trying to live two lives that just don't exist.
it's stressful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult.
Okay.
So
Well,
what
that is
happened?
great news. Great news to hear about how successful things have gone for you. So let's talk about your surgery. Let's
Okay.
talk about that. What happened? When did it happen?
This happened last June.
Last June.
Yeah. June and July. So sorry, it was in July. July. Yeah, because I had to cancel the barbecue.
So about 7 months ago.
Yeah, about 7 months ago. Prior to that, I did a lot of research. I was looking to raise my voice.
Mm-hmm.
Part of my job is teaching and talking to a lot of people. I do tech support for all of Canada now.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt my voice wasn't fitting who I am. And people were sort of, giving me funny looks when I was talking. They didn't care that I was transitioning. It's just like, okay, she's trying to be a female, but she sounds like a guy, and they're just getting so.
It's a little bit
confusing to them.
Yeah, and it makes it a little bit depressing for the transition. Not depressing. What's the word I'm looking for here? Oh my god, I'm blanking out.
It's just one more component of it.
Yeah.
This doesn't belong. Like we find other parts of our body just don't belong.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I had to change it, either through therapy or through surgery or a combination thereof. And I did a lot of research. I mean, a lot of the plastic surgeons that do facial feminization and drinkless shaves, they offer it. But through my research, I found that the consistency of the end result wasn't there with plastic surgeons because they don't specialize in vocal cords.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor I went to was a Dr. Haven in Rochester, New York. Great doctor. He knows about how to voice. All he does is work with voices. His actual primary clientele is singers, people with vocal issues with singing. So he knows how to fix problems with the vocal cords very well. He also offers probably the best results. He's one of the best in the world from what I've
What's his
researched.
name again?
Dr. Haben.
Dr. Haben.
Yeah, Haben.
In New York?
No, Rochester, New York.
Rochester, New York. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
He offers two options for the voice surgery. One he calls the single, and the other he calls a triple. Okay, it's basically a combination of surgeries. Um, the single doesn't raise your pitch as much, but if you're a singer, it offers you more vocal range at the end of the surgery, so that you can maintain your singing voice and get the vocal range you need to sing. He offers the triple, which raises the single will raise you approximately 3/4 of an octave. 3/4 of an octave. The triple will raise you a full octave. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I opted for. I'm not a singer. I speak, but I don't sing. I don't want to scare the audience away. So I went for the what they call the triple through his procedures. I had a bunch of dialogues with him via email, and I also did a Skype consultation where he took a look at my voice as far as pitch as it was. He says, yeah, we can work with that. It's not a problem. You're on the lower range of a male voice to start with, and we can get you up there. So it is costly. Sorry.
No problem. You need some water.
I'm good right now. Okay. So he said, okay, let's make an appointment. Let's get it set up to get down here. He told me the costs. I don't know if you want the costs.
If you don't mind sharing it with us.
US dollars, it's $7,500.
75, so 7,500
US dollars. Yeah.
Ow.
Yeah, it's a bit pricey.
Ow.
Yeah. So I had to dip into some savings to pay for that. I do recommend if you're going to do it, bring somebody with you. It saves you $600.
Oh, why?
Because if you don't bring somebody with you, they have to keep you overnight in the hospital, and that's an extra $600.
Oh, right. So they need somebody to take you home.
They need you to take you back to the hotel.
Right.
Because you're going to stay at the hotel overnight. You're going to stay for a few days.
I had that same problem when I had my wisdom tooth out.
Yeah.
Obviously not the same thing.
No. It's actually probably, I think my wisdom teeth was an easier job, or a worse job than the throat surgery.
Oh, no.
Yeah. The throat surgery was a breeze compared to the wisdom teeth. But, yeah, it's not a very long operation.
Yeah? How long was it?
Like an hour and a half.
Oh, wow.
Something like that.
Cool.
And I wasn't really in that much for pain afterwards. They gave me some medications for the pain. And some steroids to keep the inflammation down.
How was it after your surgery? Were you able to eat, swallow?
No, yeah, you can eat, you can swallow it. If they wanted you on some soft foods for the first 3-4 days.
Like ice cream?
Well, I'm a diabetic, so ice cream is not a good thing. So, but softer foods. They didn't want you eating something solid like a meat or something that you had to, that was harder to go down your throat.
Of course.
Keep it soft, which is easy to do. The biggest thing is you can't talk.
Oh, you can't talk? For how long?
A month.
A month?
A month to 6 weeks, yeah.
Wow. So you couldn't work for that time then?
I worked, but I didn't do the talking part of it.
Okay.
I had a lot of lab work that I could do, and that kind of stuff. And then I could do a lot of correspondence through email. So that's how I had to do work for the.
So was there any sort of inconvenience for you during the recovery period? Like aside from not being able to talk, did it bother you when you were sleeping or eating?
No, it was actually quite comfortable. I was sleeping quite soundly even the night after the surgery, so that didn't bother me any. Dr. Haben's advice is don't talk, period. But he says, don't worry about it to a crazy extent. I mean, control what you can and
Of course.
don't worry about what you can't. Because people talk in their sleep, people do, and that's uncontrollable, right?
Right.
He said, don't worry about that. He says, it'll take care of itself. But try not to talk at all for the first month to six weeks. The more you adhere to that, the faster it will heal.
So let me ask you something. 7 months into the surgery, after the surgery, what would you say the recovery rate is for you right now?
It's still recovering. My voice gets tired fast, as you can see me coughing and whatnot. And he said to expect that. He says it's probably going to be closer to a year when you get your full strength. The other thing he recommended too was to see a voice therapist.
Right. And what is that supposed to help with?
The voice therapist, can help you work with your new voice. And he said your head's going to have to get around your new voice. You've lived all your life where this voice has been way down here, and now it's up here, right? And while your consciousness says, okay, that's great, your subconscious is saying, no, it belongs down here, and it's trying to push it down there, right? Which adds to the strain on your voice.
Oh, I see. I get it.
So seeing a voice therapist, they help you with that kind of mental thing to get you wrapped around that idea that your voice is now higher. And the other idea of a voice therapist, he said, and he fully admits, is that touches a very small portion of feminizing your voice. There's, how you pronounce words, how you articulate, the resonance of your voice, and just how you communicate is as much or more important than your pitch.
I have read about that in my sort of just a brief study of voice training, because of course I'm interested as well.
Right.
And it's all about how you phrase the words and how you enunciate the word, where you enunciate.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you vibrate your voice, all of that.
Yeah.
So it's good to know.
Yeah. So he said that the operation isn't a fix-all. It's a good starting point, and for a person like myself, I had a really basic voice. If I did sing, I'd probably be singing bass. So it's come up a long way from where it was. So that's a good part. Now, hopefully, the voice therapist will help me get my strength in my voice back, get the feminization portions figured out, and get my head wrapped around all that. So,
how long have you been seeing the therapist or voice therapist?
I just started with the voice therapist. I want the healing to have a bit of time to work its way out. And she said, yeah, it was a good thing that I did wait. It probably would have wasted time until I got some healing done and some strength back. So we're at a good point to start the voice therapy and move forward with that. So
cool. Yeah. Very good news.
Yeah. So it's going good. So
so let me see. Just a question. What overall for your surgery, if you had to pick something that was like the worst experience from that, what would it be? Was it the no talking, or was it something else?
Yeah, the no talking was extremely difficult. A lot more difficult than I ever thought possible.
I bet.
The biggest problem is somebody would come up to you and they would try to start a conversation with you, and you're so tempted to just, yes, I'll talk to you.
Did you have to write a card and say,
yeah, I kept
recovering?
I had a pen and paper and a little pad with me all the time. And I'm trying to write things out, but every once in a while I'd slip and whisper something out, and well, yeah. So
you could have kept a set phrase and just keep it on the front page right here.
Yeah.
So you don't have to keep rewriting it.
So yeah, and then work was probably a big challenge. Trying to get around people, being tech support. I did help from other people at the time, so it did help with the people answering phone calls and stuff like that. Um, but I used email a lot to get around some of that.
So that is the only bad side to this whole experience, or would you say there were more?
Um, well, it's a long process of healing. Um,
Healing.
like I say, even today, my voice is getting tired.
Yes.
Even though it's been a pretty light day for talking.
I'll try to keep the interview brief.
No, it's been good for that because it gives me more of my voice tonight. So yeah,
Okay.
that's probably the hardest part. I mean, like it gets tired and gets a bit strained. Easier, but I'm hoping the voice therapist can help me with getting around that. And she said she could. There's all sorts of techniques to make your voice work better under less strain and bring it out to the way we want it to come out. So I'm hoping that works out.
So no regrets.
No, none.
Perfect. And what is so far at 7 months in? What is the best thing that you've noticed after the surgery regarding the surgery?
I find my voice is a lot more comfortable.
Yeah.
I don't feel what's the word? I don't feel like I'm putting myself. What's the word? I don't know what the word is.
It feels.
It feels more me.
I've been thinking about that word I was looking for, and I think the word I was looking for is setback. If I was like when I was trying, I mean I still am, but when I'm talking on the phone and people would call me sir.
Oh, I know that's so annoying.
I would immediately feel like a setback in my transition, like I've somehow just failed myself, and that's how I would have.
I don't think I failed myself. I mean, people still call me sir on the phone right now, and it's annoying.
Yes.
But I don't think that is a setback. I've sort of lost that perspective over time. I think it's a setback on their part.
Yes.
To be honest, I think, and that's where
so
I come.
Do they call you sir after you introduce yourself as Rose?
Yeah, I call myself Rose, and they say yes, sir.
Oh no!
So it's like, okay, it's Miss, but yeah, go ahead. Sometimes some people have met me as Rose and they're being ignorant. So you have to give it up too. Painful. That's not a setback on my part.
Of course.
I've come to the maturity to say, okay, so it's not a setback on my part. It's a setback on their part. I mean, there's still people out there that believe the world's flat. So I mean, yeah, there's still that society. So I just put the mentality back there somewhere, and leave it at that, and keep on going. Yeah. So
I guess that's all you can do, right? In the face of ignorance, you just gotta stay above it.
Like I say, I do trade shows, I do presentations and stuff like that, and every time I do one, it gives me a great amount of self-worth and self-strength. Yeah.
That is so great to hear. Great news. So let's see. I want to keep it brief, but I'm gonna ask you a little bit more.
Okay.
So we were talking earlier, and you were telling me how you are planning on your bottom surgery as well.
Yeah. Yes.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about what's happening?
I finally got into K&H to get the psychological approvals and all that stuff started. Finally, I've been on the waiting list for 3 years now.
2 and 3 years, holy
something like
smokes!
That. So yeah, they finally went through the whole history. I mean, it should be just like a rubber stamp for it, considering I was at that what's we call it, over 20 years ago.
It really should. And they
But
did they not find your history or
no, because that's
they did?
I don't think they did anyway.
So oh my god, they
Well,
didn't count it.
well, they're still evaluating as far as where everything's at. So I have another appointment. Trying to think. Appointment is in April. This next appointment because I have to go away for a month. Um, and hopefully she'll have some of that sorted out.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't. The psychiatrist didn't think it would be very much of an issue to get papers. So I don't know what the kind of timeline. I'm hoping to find out the timeline when I go back in April, and move forward with bottom surgery at that point. So if the waiting list for the bottom surgery is too long here in Canada, I'm quite prepared to go to Thailand. I've already talked to surgeons there.
The OHIP is supposed to cover surgery in Thailand as well.
Yeah, except for the traveling.
Oh right, of course.
Yeah, but but the timeline's a lot shorter to get in to see those doctors.
So you just go by yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it is up to you, Rose. If you feel that you can do that, then you should definitely do it.
Yeah. That's what I'm planning on. The travel, I've pretty much got figured out for the dollars to get that worked out.
And which doctor are you considering?
Oh God, I'm having a brain fart now.
That's okay. I do that all the time.
It's actually the same one that Sarah went to.
Oh, Dr. Kamal then.
That's it. Yes.
Kamal.
Yeah.
Actually, that's the one I'm considering too.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah. So. That's where it's at now. So it's just a matter of playing the waiting game for the doctors to sign off on it. So.
Wow.
I have to consider. I also have diabetes, so as long as they're okay with that, then we're okay. So.
Okay.
I haven't had any problems with other surgeons and anesthesias for the diabetes, so that should be good.
Great. That is so great. I am so happy things are working out for you, except for the waiting part.
I know it's.
Yeah, I guess everybody's waiting. I'm waiting. Everybody's waiting.
Yeah.
It's part of the
process.
Yeah, it is. It really is. The transition process is all about the waiting.
Yeah.
All right. So one final question.
Sure.
If you can give advice to the people out there who is considering this surgery, what would you give them? What kind of insights do you have after experiencing it?
If you can afford somebody like Dr. Haben, definitely go that route. Do your research with any of these surgeries that you're going to come up with, not just the voice surgery, but any other surgery that you're contemplating. Do research. Research. And research isn't just looking at, like I was looking at facial surgery as well. And it's not just looking at a doctor's website and saying, okay, this is the before and after. Talk to people who have gone to them or heard. What are their track record like? Just taking the first person just because they're the cheapest dollar, the results are not always the best idea. So
great advice. Great advice.
Yeah.
You certainly want to pick quality over dollar, I believe.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
It's not
And
something
safety.
you can redo, right?
Yeah, and safety.
And you only want to do something like this once, honestly.
Yeah.
And so it is important
Yeah.
to pick the best choice.
Yeah.
Wow. So thank you so much, Rose.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. I'd like to say thank you on so many different levels because I see myself today as being transgender in this state of in this stage of society
Mm-hmm.
where as you've experienced it back then when it was so backwards and barbaric, I would even say, right?
Yeah.
And you've had to experience that, you've had to endure that, and you stuck it out, you stuck it through, and you created, you helped create a wake for the people behind you, such as myself,
Mm-hmm.
For an easier transition, and it's wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I I hope to do the same for the people to come.
Yes.
I feel like we've progressed really far, but not nearly far enough.
No, that's true. Yes.
And yeah, the world is a little bit messed up right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately.
And we have to stay above that ignorance
Mm-hmm.
and keep ourselves sane.
Exactly.
All right. Um, any final words?
No.
Okay.
That's great.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Rose, for the interview. I appreciate you spending your time and your voice with us here and sharing your very personal experience and details with us. And I wish you all the best in everything to come.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.